everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. Today I have got a delicious fall treat for you. Today we're going to make a delicious pumpkin bread recipe with a wonderful crunchy streusel topping. This one knocks it out of the park, hits all the notes that you know you love, and I can't wait to show you how this all comes together. Today we're going to make a fall classic. We're gonna make my version of pumpkin bread with a crunchy streusel topping, and we're gonna make the streusel later. So first we're gonna go over all of the ingredients that go into this delicious fall treat. I have one can, which is a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. So this is solid packed pumpkin, not pumpkin pie mix that you get in a larger can. And if you like to use your own home cooked pumpkin, you're gonna use 2 cups. We have 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1 cup of vegetable oil, 1/2 cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can make your own, of course, which is a buttermilk substitute, which isn't really buttermilk. I prefer if you substituted sour cream, if that's something you have on hand. That would be a better substitute. So 1/2 cup of either buttermilk or sour cream. We're gonna have 4 eggs. And then we're gonna do a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. This is my own homemade version. I will leave a link to my video down below where you can learn how to make that. Tablespoon of vanilla extract, and a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So let's get this all mixed up. Okay, now we're gonna mix up all the wet ingredients first. So in goes the pumpkin, the oil, 4 eggs that I already cracked to make, save time. 1/2 cup of buttermilk, and again, if you don't have buttermilk, use sour cream. That'll be great. Our vanilla extract. I'm gonna get this all mixed up. Just whisk this together. You don't need to put this in your mixer. You don't need to have any kind of special equipment to make this. You just need a whisk or a wooden spoon and a bowl. Okay, now we're gonna add our sugar and give that a good whisk as well. This recipe is going to make 2 standard size loaves, so I have prepared 2 loaf pans, standard size bread loaf pans that are the 9 by 5 inch size. And now we're going to go in with the dry ingredients. So I sloshed a little oil in my bowl here that had my salt and my baking powder and my baking soda. So, oh well. There goes our pumpkin pie spice. And in with our flour. We're just going to whisk that well until all of the ingredients are well combined. Alright, I got this all mixed up. You just want to make sure that there are no dry spots in here, so take your spatula, run it down the side of the bowl, and kind of fold it up on itself. If there are any dry pockets, you'll see them and they'll break up easily. Now we're just going to divide these between these 2 loaf pans, which I have sprayed with vegetable oil spray. And then I have lined them with a piece of parchment that hangs over the side on both long sides. This is going to help us get it out later after we take it out of the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and pan these up. I got the pumpkin bread batter divided between these 2 standard loaf pans. Now I'm just going to set these aside for a moment while we make our streusel topping. Okay, now we're going to move on to making the crunchy streusel topping. Now, this is a 1/2 batch of my big batch streusel recipe. I'll leave a link to that video down below and in an iCard above in the little, click on the little eye in the circle and a little pop-out will come out and you'll be able to see all the links that I provide in this video. I love streusel topping. It is particularly delicious on a pumpkin loaf, so that's what we're going to go for. And what you're going to need to do this is 1/2 cup of butter. So this is a stick of butter cut into cubes and it's cold. I've had this in the refrigerator. 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1/2 cup of pecan pieces if you so desire. I like nuts in my streusel. And then we have a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can use pumpkin pie spice. You can use less salt. You can put no salt. It's up to you. I think salt really does add to it though. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of these ingredients in this bowl. And what I like to do is just kind of give this a toss so that the butter gets kind of coated with all these other ingredients. And then you're going to get your pastry cutter out. And we're going to cut the butter into the flour and the sugar just like you would if you were making biscuits. Just cut it in until it looks like coarse crumbs, and when it reaches that stage, I'll bring you back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we're back, and I got my streusel to where I wanted it. Now, fair disclosure, I will adjust the recipe. I told you a half a cup of flour, but that is not enough flour, and today is a hot, humid day where I live, and that is going to affect your streusel. You don't want your streusel to be too wet, and you want it to look like this. And if that means you have to add a little extra flour here and there, then that's what it means. You could use a cup to a cup and a half of flour, depending on where you want your streusel to be. I have mine exactly where I want it. Now this looks like coarse crumbs, but when you pick it up in your hand and give it a squeeze, it compacts. And if you gently break it up, you're gonna have different size clumps of streusel, and that's exactly what I want. This is like when you get a crumb cake and you get those big pieces of streusel everybody fights over because they're like delicious, tasty nuggets of heaven. That's what you want here. So what we're gonna do is we're going to sprinkle this evenly over the top of both of the loaves of pumpkin bread that we've already panned up, and I'll bring it back and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got the one loaf sprinkled already, and what I like to do is compact it and then gently break it up. You want some big pieces, you want some little pieces, because as this bakes, that batter is going to kind of bake up into the streusel, and it's going to be lovely. You want it even. If you want to stop at this point, then you can. If you want to use all your streusel, you sure can. It's up to you. The leftovers can easily go in the freezer. You can save them for another time. If you're gonna make muffins or something, this is great on muffins. You can use it to top a pie with. It's very versatile to have on hand, and it's really nice to have on hand because sometimes you just don't want to go to the extra trouble of making this, and having it in your freezer already is a lovely convenience. So this is gonna go into a 350-degree oven for between 50 and 60 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean and free of any wet batter. Now, your oven may be different than my oven, and you want to keep an eye on it during that last 20 minutes. It may come out sooner, it may take an extra 10. So just be aware of that. So I'm gonna pop these in my oven and I'll bring you back when they come out. Well, there you have it. Our pumpkin streusel loaves are all done. I got 2 of them. The other one is resting on the side of the stove, and they're perfect. They're super crummy. And when you go to slice them, you're going to want to make sure you tip it on its side and brush all the loose crumbs off, and then slice it, and then all the ones that are nice and crackly and baked on are going to stay. Now, you're going to want to store these in an airtight container or tightly wrapped in either a zip top bag or in 2 layers of plastic wrap. I'm personally going to slice them and put them in an airtight container with layers of parchment paper in between. You can enjoy these right away. You can freeze them for up to 3 months and then take them out as needed. These aren't going to last long, I promise. So I've got some whipped cream cheese here because I think that's a lovely thing to serve on the side. You can also do some honey butter or some maple butter or some maple cream cheese spread, something that might be coming up on the channel later, and I think Rick's might be ready to give this a try. What do you think?
I have to.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna break this in half. The bread is super moist. You can see it's got a lovely crumb, and I think you're going to really enjoy this. I'm just gonna, you want a little cream cheese?
Please.
Here you go. What do you think?
You're right. It's not gonna last long.
Oh. Who doesn't love pumpkin loaf? I know it's easy to pick up pumpkin bread in the grocery store, but trust me, you can make these for next to nothing with ingredients you probably already have in your pantry. You can do 4 little loaves. If you have smaller loaf pans, you can do 2 dozen muffins, maybe even more. You can do these 2 large loaves. You can slice them, you can share them. What's not to love about that?
I guarantee store-bought won't be as good as this.
You heard it from the man. So that's how you make pumpkin streusel loaf. I hope you give this a try sometime soon, and I hope you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.